There is no medical justice in India. A system is totally stacked against the victims. Hardly any doctor is punished in India. A patient goes for an appendix surgery, and then that patient dies after 7, 8, 10 days with a rotten towel in the abdomen. Medical negligence is the worst form of social evil. They're keeping dead patient on bed and billing. I have evidence, Amri Hospital, 92 people burned to death. 13 years later, nothing. None of them got justice.
I have with me Dr. Kunal Saha, who is the president of People for Better Treatment. Through PBT, Dr. Saha has been crusading against medical negligence. Dr. Saha himself is a victim of medical malpractice, where he lost his wife, Anuradha Saha, to medical negligence. What he started as a fight for justice for Anuradha in the late 90s soon became a movement. Anuradha Saha judgment is one of the historic judgments in India related to medical negligence. And for years, through PBT, Dr. Saha has been helping many victims of medical negligence and their families. Thank you, Dr. Saha, for joining me.
Thank you.
Dr. Saha, the fact is, in India, much needs to change as far as patient rights is concerned. Much more needs to be done to make doctors and hospitals accountable. But before we get into all this, please tell us about your wife's case. For the benefit of our viewers, tell us what happened to Anuradha and how did you navigate the legal fight in this case? And why is the Anuradha Saha judgment so important when we talk about medical malpractice in India?
Yes. Okay. So this was 1998. I mean, both Anuradha and me were settled in USA, young couple. I was a doctor from India, just migrated here, and she was a child psychologist. Went to an Ivy League school here, Columbia University in New York. We just graduated. I did my postdocs and all these. And 98, we were about to start our married family life together. We planned, to start a family. She wanted to have blessing of her parents. So we went there for 2 weeks vacation before starting the married family life. Not to be. The destiny willed otherwise. She died. Now, she died what we can, the technical name, it's a very rare condition. This is called, the medical name is toxic epidermal necrolysis, TEN. The first thing you do, you just stop that drug. And if you don't know which drug, then you stop all drugs, unless you are on life support. Well, she was not. She's just like normal, healthy. 35 years old. Dr. Sukumar Mukherjee, he was, in India, they go like this. Even when I was like number 1 doctor, number 2 doctor in a city of like 1 crore, 2 crore people. So they said he's number 1. He's a medicine guy. But I didn't know him when I was going to medical school there. He came and he started a medicine. It's called Depomedrol. That's a steroid. This guy, not only he used this a rare steroid, it's a long-acting steroid, should have never given in an acute condition, but he gave it the dosage of this. It's Pharmacia of John, the manufacturer, US company. They say this drug, because it's a long-acting, means it stays in the body for a long period of time, unlike regular prednisolone or something. So the dosage, it's a maximum doses once a week or once in 2 weeks. And this is the drug he chose, and he gave it twice every day.
Right.
So I and my friends who are there, so we all were shocked that, okay, first of all, the choice is kind of weird for this condition, but then the dose he gave, so this, a layman can appreciate this. When the drug manufacturer package insert says a maximum dose once a week or once in 2 weeks, he advised that same medicine to take twice every day, injectable, not take it. So just think, it is like up to 50 folds more and daily. So her immunity was wiped out by this medicine, basically. She became very sick, tried to bring her back to US, but very rapidly her condition went downhill, and primarily this medicine, but also the supporting therapy in Amri. There's Amri Hospital. That was in Calcutta. My friend was there. She eventually died in Bridge Candy because we couldn't bring her back. Bridge Candy did whatever they have, but it was too late. Look, Anuradha was not my wife. She was, and she still is, my best friend and inspiration. And she was an amazing lady. But anyway, if you go back in archives of the newspaper prior in the 90s, the word medical negligence was not there. Hardly, you cannot see. There were no cases. So to begin, then I was settled in US. All my family is here. So to fight this, it was at that point, I also thought it was impossible. My friend said it is impossible. And that too is a very powerful doctor and big hospitals. I had no chance. They said, don't try Kunal. They killed him, her. You will die too, fighting, and you will not get justice. But as I said, Anuradha, still in my mind, she's not dead. She was not dead. So I did my work here, but I did start this fight, which I did. It took me 15 years, and perhaps $4 or $5 million. I say Anuradhas are dying today. 26 years ago, today she died in Bridge Candy. So what happened? I started this fight from here. Now, I had certain advantages, like I being a doctor, so I knew the medical side, what went wrong. Then I was based in US, so I had some financial stability here to do this fight. And then the unique situation, I had no obligation here. I was left physically alone, so I did not care for anything.
Also, I want to know what really happened to the doctor. Where is the doctor today?
Okay, so 3 doctors are culpable, mainly. There were 5 doctors involved, but 3 senior. In fact, 2 of them were my professor in the medical school when I was there. 2 of them already passed away. One, the main culprit, is still living. He may be close to, 90 years old.
Dr. Saha, I want to talk to you about the larger issues related to medical negligence in the country today. So earlier we did a report on how the National Medical Commission, the NMC, had quietly stripped away patients' rights. As per the current regulations, they seem to have removed the right of medical negligence victims to appeal. Now, this right was previously there in the Indian Medical Council regulations of 2002. But what is the irony about this is that if doctors against whom complaints are filed, if the doctors have issues with the State Medical Council, they have the right to appeal against the decision. What does this really show about a healthcare regulation?
I tell you this.
Priority to patients and their rights, or the powerful hospitals and the doctors?
Right. What you may not know, you can find it out. This thing you just said, that right was there in 2002. Section 8.7, 8.8 were added. The 2019 Act, which is the present act, and 1956 has repealed, right? So according to that, as you said, it's a bizarre thing they have done. Now, I wrote to them, now what is happening? This NMC, they don't know right hand what left hand is doing. So we are referring, because these laws, 8.7, 8.8, these 2 provisions were in the MCI Act, right? Because of our lawsuit. Now, we are referring victims to there. Okay, you file in Delhi. Some cases they are taking up. Now I have, and we are preparing to move a writ petition very soon. It's completely arbitrary. They don't know what they are doing, okay?
So they're giving this right to the doctors, but not to the patients to
Yes,
appeal.
right. The law book says, the new law says, the doctor can challenge if they are found guilty by State Medical Council, but the victim cannot challenge. So your only recourse for a victim ends with the State Medical Council, which is a local body. They are all bodies. Virtually nobody found guilty, that you know.
So what is the victim do? The victim feels that he has not got justice through the State Medical Council.
Well, many victims, I deal exact same situation. So we are telling them, no, you file under 8.7, 8. The old law, which had the right. Now, MCI, as I said, some cases we have evidence. We are collecting. They are not objecting to that. They are taking it. But other cases, they are refusing. They say, oh, the new law, you have no right. And so we are going to bring a case. Now, right now, that
Azad,
bill is
what you're saying is, for some cases, they are accepting the old law, and for
correct,
other cases,
correct,
they are not accepting
correct.
it.
Correct. It's totally arbitrary. They don't know what they are doing. Okay. These people, the NMC members, first of all, their members are
You
changing
have
every
such
day.
cases where you have NMC accepting certain cases and rejecting some
Absolutely,
others?
I have. Absolutely, we have. And that's what I'm preparing. I'm coming to India. I will move the court. But here is the thing. Why they made this law? This is the power of Indian Medical Association. And now it is even worse. They are saying you cannot sue a doctor for
Correct.
negligence.
Yeah. And
This
also,
is
I wanted to talk to you about this. You've submitted a memorandum with the health ministry related to what
today.
you call,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
related to what you call as an unjust order by the Supreme Court. You've said that the order says that nobody can file a case under the Consumer Protection Act of
Right.
2018 against
Right.
negligent doctors, even if they are responsible for causing the death of a patient. My question
Yes.
to you is, we didn't see much reporting on this story.
Me
Tell us-
neither.
yeah, please
Yeah.
tell us about this order
Uh,
and under what circumstances was this order delivered?
okay. Okay. This order, there is a case came. It's a lawyer's body from Gujarat. It came all the way to Supreme Court. They say, hey, we cannot be sued in the consumer courts. So Supreme Court was dealing this, nothing to do with doctors in that matter. So I wonder why this bench went a step. So they first of all said, hey, yes, we agree with the lawyers group. They cannot be sued. By the way, it's not just lawyers, other like doctors also should not be sued under this. But they have no authority because the
Did the court
doctors,
say that the doctors cannot be sued?
yeah, their opinion.
It
Now
is an
they cannot give
observation.
the,
It is an
yes, and not
observation.
only observation, they refer this case to CJI, telling that because there was, you may remember when the Consumer Protection Act came, the IMA was all uproar against it. The doctors cannot be sued in this. And they, for 10 years about it went on until VP Santa, IMA versus VP Santa, historic judge, 1995. Supreme Court said, no, absolutely doctors can be sued because this is service, you're taking money, so they are consumer. Patients will be dealt as consumer. So it's settled law from 95 till date.
Also, Dr. Saha, the Supreme Court, while hearing a set of appeals related to medical negligence, observed that to hold a medical practitioner liable for negligence, a higher threshold limit must be met. This,
That is
this the Supreme Court says is to ensure that these doctors are focused on deciding the best course of treatment than being concerned about possible punishment.
yeah.
What do you have to say regarding the threshold limit? Do you think this is a move in the right direction?
No, it is not right direction. What these courts need to understand, I live in America, but half of my life I was in India. So I've seen both sides as a doctor and as a victim. The best and the one of the worst in judiciary. Now, hardly any doctor is punished in India. That is a known common knowledge today. You go to the consumer court cases, which I'm doing literally in hundreds. The chances of winning, the way the whole thing is stacked against the victims, not more than 2, 3, 4, 5%. And that's the result. Most cases are dismissed. And now for them, and they're claiming they are frivolous lawsuit. Now, here is the fact. Even Anuradha's case, the biggest case, I think that only proves that there is no medical justice in India. Not that I got their justice. No. Why I say that? After winning the biggest case. So I just said, being a doctor, Indian and American, live in America, spend crores of rupees to fight this case, not only through attorney, then without my medical knowledge, there was no case. Lawyers could not have done it. And then it took 15 years. And I lost all the lower courts. I lost in the consumer court. I lost in the high court. Only Supreme Court appeal after 15 years, spending crores of rupees with the knowledge, both as a doctor and legal knowledge and being an American. If that is the threshold of winning, not a single person in India can win a case. You see, that shows there is no medical justice. A system is totally stacked against the victims.
I recently saw an article which speaks about how the burden of the proof is on the claimant, on the victim, to prove that something really went wrong. In fact, the Delhi State Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission recently dismissed a complaint against Max Hospital and said that mere claims related to medical negligence is not enough, and the burden of proof to prove a medical negligence lies with the claimant. Now, shifting the entire burden of proof on the victim who's already lost so much, what does this really talk about medical accountability? And as you've said, you won the biggest case and you still say that there is no medical justice in the country today. What do you have to say about this?
Okay, here, I tell you this. Look, if they say the burden, anytime I file a lawsuit for medical negligence, I have no problem when they say burden of proof. Yes, it lies with the complainant first. Prima facie, I have to show that there is prima facie evidence that there was medical negligence. So that part, I have no qualm with that. But there is a thing called res ipsa loquitur in law, meaning that it speaks for itself. Evidence speaks for itself. So here's my, and I argued in Supreme Court and won the biggest case, right? It is what res ipsa loquitur. A patient goes for an appendix surgery. Everybody knows it's an innocuous thing, or a gallbladder surgery. It's nothing. Nobody should die, otherwise healthy person, from that. And then that patient dies after 7, 8, 10 days with a rotten towel in the abdomen. There are cases, I'm doing these cases. And it's not exception. It happens quite frequently, I would say, in India. Now, that is a case. Do I need to prove anything else? A layman, an ordinary, you don't need education that this was negligent death.
But every case is not as black and white as this, because sometimes what happens is doctors don't even part with information. The hospital doesn't give you the records.
Oh, yeah, those are different problems.
How does a patient really...
No, but the first thing court will have to acknowledge, you cannot just say burden of proof lies with the complainant. In some cases, but other cases, it's open and shut, like the example I gave. Res ipsa loquitur applies. And under Anuradha's judgment, Supreme Court said that res ipsa loquitur applies because no doctor has a right to go beyond the maximum recommended dose of a medicine. And when he goes like 10, 20, 30 times, that is res ipsa loquitur. America, every state medical council, we call it medical board, like Ohio Medical Board, every month they publish a list. And multiple doctors are punished, found guilty. Despite this, look at India. We have data. We ask how many doctors punished. The data we have, some cases, like in 50 years, not one. Not one. And today, the situation is not very different.
Union Home Minister Amit Shah had recently stated in the parliament that if there is death due to medical negligence, then doctors will be exempted from criminal prosecution. You were also talking about that. This was done, it seems, following a request from IMA. Now, we are seeing in many cases, the government and the judiciary is doing so much for the doctors and the hospitals. What has our system really done for patient rights and patient safety? Does this also point to a problem that we actually don't really have many people championing for the cause of patients' rights?
There is hardly any. And then those who try, they have been thwarted because of this So the root cause is this corruption in healthcare system. They don't want that neutral arbiter to be there. They don't want Kunal Saha. I am hated. you probably know, even if you don't know, I am hated both by the doctors, of course, because I kindled this fire many years ago, 26 years ago, which they don't like at all. They want to remain untouchable. These are my friends. I'm one of them. They are my colleagues. So, look, there was no accountability, and it's a societal problem. People at large, they consider doctors in India, they used to not like God, but God. They used to call Bhagwan hai, ab to Bhagwan hai na. So they never question God. No.
Dr. Saha, you got the highest compensation of 11.5 crores in your case, which many
Yeah.
believe by far is the highest compensation ever received in Indian medical history.
Yeah,
But
by
not,
far.
but not many victims are able to navigate the legal journey like you.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think are the biggest obstacles a common person has to face in their fight against medical negligence in India?
Yeah. That's a good question. I have no good answer. You see, it's a societal. I say medical negligence is the worst form of social evils. I call medical negligence worst form of social evil. Now, how do you win? Number one, public awareness. You have to know your rights. You have to demand your rights. Now, that way we are. I mean, it's pretty dismal picture that I know. No victim, really. They lose their loved one. They don't want money. But money is the main deterrent because the money is all reason why medicine has become what it is. That they're keeping dead patient in bed, and billing the patients. You know this kind of story. It's not story, it's not only Hindi movie, it's real life in India happening. But is anybody punished for that? No. These children died just this week in a hospital. Will anybody be punished? You write it down. No. In the long run, no. I have evidence. Amri Hospital, 92 people burned to death. 13 years later, nothing. None of them got justice. So, justice system is also grossly flawed.
So, Dr. Saha, what must be done to strengthen patients' rights and make hospitals accountable in a way that is more balanced, where the patient gets justice? At the same time, the doctors don't operate in an atmosphere of fear, but they're also made accountable if they're responsible for medical malpractice.
There is no fear. Look, if that was the case, then America would have been the worst country in medicine. Is it? No, it is the best country. Okay. Yes, there are too many lawsuits. Here you can say, yes, because there are medical legal expert lawyers. They go after everybody will have to have an insurance, a high amount, and millions jury awards. Millions. So in this country, I can say maybe doctors may have a point that a lot of lawsuits against them, but do they operate in fear? Crazy. Then this country would have been worse. So these are the arguments they make, the IMA people they make. And, oh, doctors are, operating under fear. What fear? Well, you have zero fear. Medical council are protecting you. We need to stand up together. We need to know our rights. We have to demand our rights. And yes, you may lose first battle, but you will win, just the way Anuradha's case happened.
What is your advice to people who face medical negligence? What measures should they take in their fight to make the doctors and hospitals accountable?
Yes. Look, we have laws. Laws very much like in this country, like you have a right to get medical records, 100% of it within 5 days. But then, and that is the basis, that is the genesis of any fight to prove it in the court, medical records. In our country, they don't give any medical records. When a patient dies and it's negligent death, all they give you a death certificate. And that too is flawed. All it says, died from cardiorespiratory arrest. That means the patient's heart and lungs stop functioning. That's death. But they don't give antecedent cause, which is mandatory. With that, you cannot fight. You cannot win. So you demand medical records first with the specific law in book. You mention that our website, pbtindia.com, gives that draft letter. You send a letter saying that this section says every piece of record you provide me within 5 days, failing which you will be held accountable not for negligence only, but for misconduct, for violating that law. So when you do go that way, we have seen, I'm seeing it every day, they become fearful. These
That is
hospitals,
the first step. What is this next?
very first step. So get that medical record, every piece of it. And most cases you can find from there. You have to find from there what they did or did not do right. So, but without that you can't. Then the next step will be now wide range of cases or incidents of medical negligence. Some recepsa, like speaks for itself. You don't really need anything with a gouge in the abdomen, right? Or a medicine given 10 times high dose, like that. Other cases, you may need some medical scientific help. And then that you go to a doctor. I mean, doctors can help you, come to us. I do, but India is such a big country. It's not possible for everybody to come only to PBT and get help. For us to help everybody. I hope there are good doctors. Good doctors. Good means not as a medicine guy, but good human being.
So
There
you're
are many.
saying gather the evidence, then go to an expert, a doctor,
Right.
and
Somebody who will neutrally judge, who will use
judge.
his medical knowledge
Hmm.
and tell you whether you have a case, I mean, whether there was negligence or not, in complicated cases.
Hmm.
But many cases, as I said, you
And
don't
then
do
do
that.
what?
Then there are avenues. There are three ways you can fight it. One in the civil court, consumer court, which is still the law. That's number one. Number two is a criminal court. But the criminal cases after Jacob Matthews, it's next to impossible. I did criminal and civil both. They were found guilty and 3 months jail sentence was there. But eventually didn't happen. But criminal court, I don't encourage people to go every case for a criminal case. Which they do and never go to police. If you go to police for a criminal case, you lose everything because police are corrupt and this is not your case. Then it will be police case with the doctor. They will just cut a
Also
deal with them.
write to the respective state medical council.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Although they are corrupt, they are protecting their bodies, but we are fighting. Nowadays, I see some changes. At least they have this pressure from group like PBT, from people like me. So we will hold them accountable. I had entire medical council member of West Bengal indicted criminal case for shielding Shukuma Mukherjee. That is on record and that is in the news. So yes, definitely you go to medical council and then file appeal or go to the court, or depending on the case. So
What do you think is the best avenue by far? If you
best
look at
avenue, consumer court and medical council must. These two must. Medical council, your chances are slim. Consumer court, well, it is still very little chance, but now it's changing. It's changing. But don't fall in the trap of lawyers. The lawyers are worse. What I have seen in last 26 years, they're worse than doctors. The black courts are worse than white courts, in my opinion. Unless you know a lawyer who is honest. I mean, I'm talking only about honesty, not about the quality of lawyer.
Thank you, Dr. Saha, for your insights. It was great having you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy to do this.